Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Sellers, and welcome to Driven by Detours, where we share inspiring stories by inspiring people. Today, I'm so excited because I have one of my friends here, Juliet Lemar. She is an on-camera host. She's a host of Life Reflected. She's also a local news reporter in Santa Monica, and she's also a producer. Life Reflected is a multimedia mini docu-series that explores the possibilities of human growth and kindness. Juliet Lemar, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you here.
So pleased to be on your show.
I'm excited because I wanted to share how we met, because it starts the conversation of how to collaborate with your peers and the importance of social media and connecting. And just this year, I made it a vow to myself that I would start to connect more and collaborate more. And it has made such a difference in my business and my life. And we met actually in a LinkedIn group for TV hosts and broadcasters. And it was in a mastermind that we met. And just hearing your story, I was so inspired by you, just because you're such a driven and persistent human being. And in this industry, you really need to be. So let's start out with your journey from graduation, because you've had about 6 or 7 years of experience on camera and producing as well. So walk us through the journey of, work, and then how, that really paved your way in this highly competitive market, because it was not an easy journey.
It never is. I think in any market you're in, there's not like, oh, I'll choose that one, it'll be easy. Everything has its fallacies, right? So I went to college for broadcast journalism and TV film production, but it all really started in high school. I was on the announcements, so I was kind of playing around with doing TV film stuff in high school, knew I wanted to do it in college. Out of college, I ended up interning at Marvel Studios in their development department and got to help out, intern, wasn't really helping that much, but I got to see them write scripts. I got to be in those meetings, and seeing that creative process was amazing. And it kind of goes back to, I'm driven by curiosity. And if you really love your industry, you want to know how everything works. So I never have the mindset of, I do one thing.
Yeah. And I think, and that's a good point. I think now more than ever, you need to be multidimensional. You have to be able to do it all, because everything now is you're shooting, you're editing, you're producing. If you want to be on camera, you have to pitch yourself. And we're going to get into that in just a minute, because you're a professional at pitching your own shows and creating a job for yourself, which I love. But I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that you overcame personally, because career is one thing, but when you have a lot going on personally on top of your career, it just takes a type of personality and a drive to get through it. Can you tell us a little bit about your mom and how you got through her health issues and kind of put your career on hold to take care of her and then went back to work?
Yeah, it's been a long journey, one that I am only now just clawing my way out of. And I think that you don't realize how important your health is. You know it, but you don't know it until it's something that happens to you or someone near you. So very long story short, I was on my honeymoon in Thailand and just sitting by the pool, got a phone call through Facebook of a cousin I never talked to. And she said, she was frantic, and she said, your mom is on her way to the hospital. She had a brain aneurysm. I don't know if she's alive. And I'm just, you can imagine what happened. Hysterics. So had to get out of Thailand, get on a plane, several planes to get out of Thailand. It's like 4 or 5 planes. She was in Virginia at the time visiting family. So I had to fly from Thailand all the way to Virginia. I'm located in Los Angeles. And each time I landed, I would call and try to find someone to tell me status update of her health. And one time I'd call and they're like, she's on life support. Next time, like, oh, she's breathing on her own. Next time, we don't know. It was this up and down. Anyway, eventually got to Virginia, and she survived. She had a brain surgery, and then she was recovering. And several months into her recovery, it was 2 months into her recovery, she fell and she hit her head, and she had a second brain injury. And it was, I can remember everything of where I was when I got the news and all that. It happened all over again, but this time, was even worse, because it's you don't survive the first one. So she had a second one. It was much different the second time around, because it really was, I thought for sure this is it. And the doctors were like, we should pull the plug. She's never going to live a normal life. And my dad and I had to go through that experience, which was horrendous. We took a couple days to decide, and we thought, mom's a fighter, and we're going to give her a shot, even if it means that it might be a long recovery, which it has been. So took her a couple months to wake up out of the coma. It was very long. I remember the day she moved her pinky, like
wow.
little things like that, right? And eventually now, fast forward 5 years, it's been hell. And for a different day when I have more time, I'll go into our whole medical system and how it is, the way it treats people is very interesting, especially seniors or people with mental problems, like someone who suffered a stroke, which is like a brain aneurysm or a traumatic brain injury. It's horrendous, and you have to be an advocate. You have to be there every single day. Yeah, we've talked about this.
You need somebody there on your team and advocating for you every second that you can.
Every second, and so it's hard to have a career when I'm an only child. So it's just me and my dad and my husband and my mom and then his parents. So I had put my career on hold for about 3 years. And then towards the end of that 3 years, when I finally came up for air, I finally thought, okay, what have I been doing? I've been making TV for what reason? Like, what videos have I been making that make any impact? Who cares what this person's wearing on the red carpet? I cared about the people who showed me kindness during that time. I cared about the doctor who gave her a chance and gave her a third brain surgery. I cared about the doctor who helped remove her tracheotomy and taught me how to care for that. Those people, when she started going to a community college to go to classes again to kind of regain her life, the bus driver that would wait just a couple extra seconds because she's always late, those people changed my life. And they're just these normal people in your world. And I thought, these people are changing my life more than anyone else. They need to be celebrated. These are the stories that need to be told. Each person has an amazing story. So, dun, 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 Life Reflected was born.
I love that. And I love that concept because it's getting down to the bottom of being a human being. And we all get caught up so much in our day-to-day life and the hustle and bustle and working and making money, and everyone's just trying to survive and get to the next level. But you often forget the people that take that extra second or the time, to make your life better or to help you in some way.
My guests are just awe-inspiring and really living life beyond their own circumstances. And I think that everyone needs to be reminded that they can do that too, and that your circumstances don't define you, and that you are made of them. Embrace them.
And you have to stay motivated, and you have to stay driven. You're going to get knocked down time and time again, not just with life, but with your career. And that brings me to my next point, which is this industry as a whole, the TV and film industry, the hosting industry. You're in, Los Angeles area. So you're like in the mecca of on-air talent. What have you seen change in the past couple of years, where obviously with COVID hitting, it was devastating to everybody in production, but just over the past couple of years, what have you seen with on-air talent? You've really had to create your own content and create your own opportunities. What have you seen on your side out there?
You are so right. You're creating your own opportunities. I think that there's definitely space for everyone. It's just interesting to see that shift from, you have experience in news and development and production, and I'm going to hire you for XYZ. Instead, it's, okay, well, that's all nice, but how many followers do you have? I mean, the amount of times that I've been asked how many social media followers I have on an audition is infuriating.
Yeah. And you have to really figure out, that's the thing, that's the shift. And you have to figure out where you fit in the grand scheme of things right now, because, speaking to talent agents and managers, they are looking at the influencers because they're the ones bringing in the dollars. So you as a host really need to figure out how you can pivot and make some room for yourself within the influencer community in some way, shape, or form, whether it's creating content that's meaningful like you, and you're putting out content that changes the world. You have to be able to somehow combine that with social media marketing, because that's what's selling. And that's what representation wants. It's like, okay, well, we have traditional broadcasters and hosts, they're great, but those jobs are on the decline, and the influencers are really blowing up where they have been for so long, and their focus is really shifting. So we as hosts and broadcasters, we really need to think about, okay, how do we fit in here too and create opportunities for ourselves? And I think that you're doing an awesome job. And I wanted to get your advice on, for our listeners, as far as pitching your own show, because as we were saying, the hosting jobs and the broadcasting jobs, they are on the decline, and you're seeing more and more people go in the influencer route. How do you get out there yourself without needing a talent agent or a manager? What have you seen work as far as pitching your own show?
Well, there's lots. And I think that shift to influence is just a shift to a different celebrity. Before, we would lose out our hosting jobs to like Ryan Seacrest or, whoever it was against us because they want that celebrity. It makes sense. Ad dollars. That's the bottom line. I love pitching. A lot of people don't. It's just a chance to really get some good ideas flowing and feedback. And I love feedback, negative and positive. I don't care. All right. So first off, you need to get into the habit of pitching. It is a skill. So every day I will get up, and at some point I try to do it in the morning. If I haven't, I'll do it before I go to bed. It's like right next to my bed, a notebook. And I come up with 3 to 5 ideas every single day. They don't have to be good. It is you're working that creative muscle.
I have that notebook next to my bed too. So
You do?
I've had it since I was, oh my gosh, when I was working at MTV and like right after college, I had a notebook there every day, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would literally write down ideas for their promos, and I would create them that week. But it's true. It's like when you're a creative person, these things come to you at the most random times, and usually when I'm laying in bed, because that's when the world kind of shuts down. But yeah, so back to your tips. Sorry about that.
No, but that's a good tip, because clearly you're also using it. You must start with value. You can't just have an idea and think it's gold and put it on paper and pitch it. It has to lead with value. First off, do your research. Find someone that you should be pitching to. Don't just pitch to info at. If that's all you have, do it. But
make a phone call. If you can make a phone call and find out who the person is, that would be great. Yes. Because they don't want to read to whom it may concern.
I don't want to read that. Like, do you want to read that?
No. Like, just get my name from somebody, anybody.
Put yourself in their shoes. Don't plan out the whole thing. This was one of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning as a producer. You produce the whole series and you have all your episodes and the thoughts and the sponsor. It's all there.
And you're not even on payroll yet. You're not even on payroll yet. But here's my segment. Please produce it. Yeah.
And they probably don't want a fully fleshed out idea yet, and we'll get to that. But, just bullet points, quick. Here are my ideas. Here's my same idea in 4 different ways, right? And so keep it really simple. Give them a tiny bit of background on you if they don't know you. If they know you, then remind them how they know you. And then just thank them, and then remember to follow up.
If you know what you can offer, like you said, what value you can add, then those platforms and those networks are kind of easy to pick out for yourself. So don't just blindly pick a network or a platform. Like, you need to fit, right? Like, you need to make sense there. So that's another thing that, like, when we talked the other day, it's like, you need to know, what your niche is and like where you fit and what you can offer, and do your research, right? Do your research on the platform, on the network, and see where they're lacking, and you're really solving that problem and taking care of that need. So thank you. No, those are awesome tips. And I think that a lot of hosts and broadcasters are in a really tough spot right now. I think that because production stopped, a lot of people are looking for work, or looking for additional opportunities to get on camera and to get a paycheck. And I think that if we can offer some sort of advice on how they can do things themselves and be more self-sufficient, and not say, hey, I just need an agent or a manager to get me a job, they can only take you so far.
This goes back to creativity again. If you are a true creative, which I believe you have to be if you're on camera, you can't just be a talking head. You should want to do this, in my mind. Doing local news journalism. I didn't know that I like doing news. I do. I went to school for it, but I wanted to do like morning news. But I started off there as talent. I was just talent. I didn't write my own scripts. I just showed up and read the teleprompter, and that was great.
That was awesome. How often do you find those jobs?
Never.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the company loses money or something happens, and all of a sudden now they're like, oh, we can't do that anymore. And I was like, I can do it. Could I do it? No. Did I know how to edit? No.
But you bet you are going home to learn.
Going home to learn. And you just have to be willing to say yes.
Totally. And I think that the point that I always try to make with, my audience is like, there's always going to be stuff in your way. There's always going to be challenges thrown at you with everything, especially a career like this. And you have to be willing to say yes, but also know your limits. So if you're not happy at the end of the day, like I don't want to, tell people, oh, you have to do everything that they want and you have to be everything that they want and they need. You can do that to a point to get where you need to go. there's an expiration date for your happiness too sometimes in a job. So the second it stops, I think, fulfilling you, it's time to look somewhere else. So yeah, I think saying yes to a point is great as far as growing as a creative and learning. I'm a super advocate of learning all the time. But when it comes to the point where it's like, okay, now you're just taking advantage of me. Now I'm just not getting paid my worth and it's time for me to hit the road.
If you say yes to something that you don't actually care about, you're not going to succeed.
Right.
So again, that's holding up that mirror to yourself and saying, where do I fit? What am I good at? What can I learn? And what am I interested in?
Right. And it's such a learning experience. Every job that I've ever had, and I'm sure you feel the same way, has taken me to the next level or to the next job where it has grown my career in more ways than one. And you really figure out who you are and what you're good at and what you like and what you're passionate about. I mean, I'm 40 plus and now I'm figuring out what I like. So it's like, it took me quite some time to get here, but in my 20s and my 30s, it was like, just work. Let me figure this out and say yes to everything. And then once it wasn't working for me anymore, I was like, it's okay to move on. Like, it's okay to say, hey, I'm going to put this behind me and see what's next. So there's always going to be opportunities. And it is always going to be changing. I mean, if you think about, the expiration date of these careers and these jobs, I mean, it's fairly short and you need to figure out where you're going to go. Right. So I think being open and creative is always going to get you to that next level and just overall make you a happier, more balanced person. Right.
Yeah, if it doesn't fill your soul, you're not going to have longevity in whatever you do. Or you're a storyteller. This is who we are as journalists and people. We're storytellers. We're story conduits for other people's journeys. So if that's not still bringing you joy, get out.
Give us some of your info.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Juliet, Juliet Lemar, Lemar. And if you just Google my name, it's the internet. You'll find me.
It's there. You'll find me. Just Google me. Yeah. And your website's awesome. I love watching all your highlight reels, and you're just like a wealth of information too. So thank you so much for all everyone. And thank you so much for all your tips on how to pitch your own show, because I feel like a lot of our audience members are going to take that to the next level, because we're all home right now and we're just trying to feed our creativity and move on to the next level. So that was super helpful. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will definitely check back in with you. Hopefully, if you'd like to be back on in a couple weeks or a couple months, I'd love to check back in with you. And for everyone else, I will see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, guys.